you so much. The reason why I'm here because of my wife. She loves kids, she's an educator, she taught at Brevard Community College for 32 years, and she's the one that drives me to help children. So I just wanted to say I really feel the pain of Dr. Rendell when he mentioned that there were going to be a 7% employment reduction. Laying off people is a very difficult task, and I've had a chance to do that a couple of times at Collins Aerospace. Losing 3,000 students is really not good, okay, because you're talking around $30 million from the revenue side. So what I had a chance to look at, I look at the data, what's happening in our community, what's happening in Brevard County, and it was just mentioned a little while ago, the live birth rate in Brevard County is not going down. It's really slowly increasing. So that tells me that the opportunity to capture that market is still out there to be captured. So what I'm saying is, because of the loss of staff, our students going to have instability, families going to be hurt, but I do think there's an opportunity, and because I believe the population is there. So what I'm asking is that we go fight for those students. I know you've heard me say that before. Mr. Bryan is a competitor, but anything we can do to fight to get those students back. And I've recognized some marketing increase, but I just hope that we can do more. Because I listened to the CTE program, how great it is. I listened to some of these young people in the STEM program. So, we've talked about marketing. What can we do to increase our marketing? And I do understand parents' right. I respect that. But this is a competitive market now. I mean, you're not the only one in the game. A lot of people are coming looking for the same opportunity to capture that market. So I'm asking that we do more, can do more. And I'm not sure what that is. This is not my field. But I do believe that there's an opportunity just based on what Brevard Public School is accomplishing. And I would love to see that, in the marketing and in our community, Brevard Public School is the best. We have the best program. And let our competitors try to match that. So put on your fighting helmet with me. Let's get in the pits and let's invest in our marketing program, because we got to win this and not lose it. So that sounds like I don't know what it sounds like.
Bernard, Brian, and Paul Rao.
Good evening, board. Chris Higginbotham, parent 3. All 3 kids go to BPS. Just wanted to say that we had a construction competition. It was great. I think we should maybe move more strategic on targeting those kids that are going to private school. Let's get them. They're not doing the great things like we are here at BPS. So they should know about it, and maybe those parents will decide to come back to the school in which they are zoned. Somebody spoke earlier during the speaking, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name right here. I would like to maybe look at that with a CCR, with the learning gaps. That's what I like to look at. Guys, when was the spring break? Then we're going to be into graduation time. I came from Orange County when I was an administrator, and I used to ask kids when they were graduating, what are you going to do next? What's next? The most common answer, I don't know. I was like, oh. So I started going over there and like, let me show you this guy. He's an Army recruiter. I was Army, so that's why I sent the kids, just so they had a plan, because that's what they really should look for. I see Major Kleins over there. We have a great SRO at my school, Corporal Williams. We also have Corporal Artist, and Corporal Cook comes on campus all the time. But those are recruiting grounds where we can set these kids up to do some great things. I know when they're graduating, I personally ask the kids after spring break, when I see them and they're a senior, what are you doing after school? I still get to get occasional, I don't know, but a lot of times, now I am at a great school, so a lot of times those kids know what college they're going to, what they're going to major in. But the fact that they have answers is a win. CCR is big at my school, and so as we talk about learning gaps, I would like to look at where they're at as far as different populations, because that's a big determining factor in my opinion. Flag football is starting. Vieira High started off, my school started off with 2 wins, so that's good. We do have the hardest region in the state, but I want to talk about inclusion with that. My kid has a 504 plan. He's born with bilateral club feet. He's the one who walks around with casts sometimes. But the coach there took him under his wing, and Coach Nichols is doing great things. He's letting them fill up the water bottles, run up and down with the ball boys. But that's the kind of culture we have here at BPS. And that's what we should be singing. Those are the praises we should be singing. There's so many great things, and we really need to just get out into the press and let everybody know what's going on. But I thank you for your guys' time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Board, for having us here. I want to add on to what Dr. Rendell said about the science fair. League of Women Voters, we are judges for the Indian River Lagoon Award, which was founded by Fran Baer, who was a union president when I first started teaching back in 1997. And we're very happy to do these awards. 2 of the judges, 2 of the awards were done, or the ceremony, the judging was done at at Melbourne Mall. We did 4th and 6th grade, and then one at Merritt Island. The first time I graded alone, and I found one award that tied into the lagoon, and then the second time it was very difficult. Hyla Mercer was with me, and we had to figure out who was going to win the award, so we gave it to 2. And then the last award was at Merritt Island. The kids were uplifting, they were adorable, they were nervous, but they really had passion about their award, and a couple of them did the award the year before. I walked by the high school projects, and I had to take my cell phone out to figure out what they were talking about. All the kids were very respectful. It was really a very, very delightful event, and I'm happy that we did it. The second thing I want to say is, if you didn't know, Public Education Week. It is from February 23rd to 27th. Raise your hand if you attended public school. Raise your hand if you had a teacher that made an impact in your life. Raise your hand if you had a bus driver that had an impact in your life. Or a nurse. These are all the players in public education. We are looking at very dark waters when it comes to funding public education. And I just want to remind everybody that we don't necessarily understand taxes, but the League is going to be giving community discussions and explaining taxes in simple terms. Tara Harris does an amazing job when she talks about funding, talks about buckets, and that's how people understand it. And Tara did an amazing job down at Macedonia Church explaining Schools of Hope with Mr. B. So thank you, Tara, for doing that. Another person who was involved with my son's life when he was in 3rd grade doing aftercare. So please thank someone this week who is involved with public schools and tell them how much of an impact they make into your life. Thank you.
Hello, I would just like to say I'm so thankful to be here and talking to you guys, as I'm really excited. School is very important for children. I'm Haley Dish, I'm 16. I go to Vieira, which is right there. And it is so important to be able to look up to our school board members, you guys, with as much respect and care that you guys look to us with. And I am sorry to say that I do not believe you guys are respecting the voices of the students as much as you should be. I'm specifically speaking about two things, Ms. Calhoun, and the way that the walkouts were handled about the ICE protests. So in 2018, students in this district walked out of class in the wake of the tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School to defend their Second Amendment rights. 14 students' lives were lost and 3 staff. Now, Susan, sir, you were on the school board back then, and I don't believe the school board issued any statements about the walkouts back then, is that correct? Are you not allowed to speak? Okay, sorry, I'm sorry. Fast forward to February 2026, where students walk out over ICE and immigration policies and everything changes. Now we hear about preserving instructional time, now we hear about discipline, and now we hear that walkouts won't be tolerated. I believe the only thing that exactly changed between then and now is that the topic. Walkouts are inherently disruptive. That's kind of the point. They were disruptive then, they're disruptive now. When one political issue gets flexibility and another gets punishment, I believe that's selective enforcement. You can't tell young people that civic engagement matters, but only when it aligns with certain political viewpoints. You can't say you support students, but only when it's comfortable for you. You are elected to represent all families in this county, not just the families who agree with you. If you want students to respect the rules have to be applied fairly. And if you want us to trust leadership and look up to the school board like we should be allowed to, leadership has to be consistent. But right now, it doesn't really look consistent. It looks hypocritical. That's why we're upset. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to speak.
Thank you so much.
Hi, it's been a minute. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You've all heard me talk about how much I love public education. If there's anything I love more, it would be our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. I love those documents because they planted the teeny tiny seed that would lead to the true greatness of America. The idea that every single American, young or old, rich or poor, regardless of race, gender, or ethnic identity, every single American deserves an equal chance at their version of greatness. Public education is the fertilizer for that seed. It tells me that a person can take that education and enter the traditional workforce and build a solid middle-class life with the ability to purchase a home, marry whomever and if they choose, have a family if that's their free choice, to, within the framework of that traditional workforce, have some job security that allows them to make some financial decisions, a job which won't yank their ability to earn a living away at the slightest perceived infraction, that will allow them to grow old in the same home they purchased if they choose without fear of health concerns or aging forcing them out of their home. It also tells me that every American should be able to take that education and choose to pursue a passion outside of the traditional workforce if they choose. It's appalling hearing school board members repeatedly refer to our students as the workforce of the future, as if every student's dream is the same or worse, inconsequential in evidence of your personal need. Every American should be able to create their own dream from their public education. So many of those freedoms are being destroyed right here in our state by politicians who value power over people. And right here in this room, we have Americans defending their constitutionally guaranteed rights, and you elected politicians using our tax dollars to defend your actions rather than just following the ideals our country was built on in the first place. Using almost $1 million of our tax dollars rather than just follow our founding documents. Whether it's allowing free speech in this public space or turning over the most basic of public records, and now the law you're using to justify not hiring Melissa Calhoun never mentions gendered names. Your own rule doesn't specify between a gendered name and any other use, including nicknames. In fact, it states, parents who approve of their student being referred to by any name other than the legal name, and in parentheses it says such as a nickname, must fully complete the district's electronic or hard copy parental consent form. By openly and publicly doubling down on a protected class, Mr. Rendell, instead of investigating every teacher who uses any name not on your own form, you have opened our district up again. Those dollars could go a long way towards keeping a cherished community school open. They could have gone a long way towards fighting off the 7% staff layoffs our county's largest employer is currently facing. You have the chance to get it right the first time, and we're going to put people in place who will. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Wayne Dyson, Aaron by Haley Dish.
Evening board. Here to talk about Melissa Calhoun. So I've seen some news reporting on the arbitration results, which happened a couple weeks ago. I have my understanding.
Timer.
Sorry.
I said timer.
Oh. Not as strong, perhaps not as strongly worded as some of us might have liked, but did spell out things that were done wrong in the process, and among other things, was ordered that the principal's recommendation should have been for reinstatement. And it also, therefore, orders that Dr. Rendell reconsider that decision de novo. De novo meaning newly or again, which presupposes that it was considered in the first place. The reality of it, I would disagree. Dr. Rendell, you previously used as a justification that the teacher made a deliberate decision to engage in gender affirmation without parental consent, or parental knowledge, I apologize. And for anyone who's had the misfortune to read through the complaint, which is unhinged and unsettling, it's clear that the parent knew for quite a while about the not at all new preferred name the student didn't using. None of this was news. The closest anyone could come to saying this was done in the child's interest was that the parent, if the parent didn't know about something. I'd still argue that, but it's clearly, definitively, by the parent's own admission, was never the case. It was a teacher calling a student by the name that everyone called them, that knew and cared about them, leaving the, for lack of a better term, parent aside. And without that, everything else has been, our hands are tied, with goalposts conveniently moving to, well, way our hands are tied. We can't, we gotta wait for the state board to rule. State board will say, yeah, go ahead. No. Oh. And now you do have another chance to do the right thing, to actually consider it. I don't know the Latin for the first time, but to do that. You know, serving every student with excellence is the standard of an excellent teacher who would love to work in the school system that she loves and is a product of. And we have another bite of the apple to do the right thing, even though it means admitting a mistake, which is survivable because we're grown-ups and we can do that. Thank you.
Shame on all of you.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm not talking to you, sir.
It sounded like it.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good.
Okay, there we go. Good evening, school board members and Dr. Rendell. I'm just going to go off my notes this time. After the last several meetings, as we talked about birth rate decline and all of the different things we talked about in the age group of my peers being that mid-20s to mid-30s, I did some research on the birth rate in Brevard. And I just really want to understand what you guys are seeing, because maybe I'm misunderstanding. But according to Florida Health, over the last 5 years, birth rates have actually stabilized and even slightly increased. And I would love to know maybe if you guys are looking at a longer period of time, because at least for me, for what I saw over the last 5 years, like I said, they slightly increased. But not only the birth rate increased, the actual population of 5 to 17-year-olds has also increased over the last 5 years from the 2019 to 2020 school year, and is projected to keep increasing. So at least from what I was able to see, our school age population is not shrinking, it's growing. People are moving here with their children. But unfortunately, according at least to the Florida Department of Education website, our enrollment has largely stagnated. What I'm seeing rise though is charter school attendance and scholarship participation, especially scholarship participation almost nearly doubled from the 2019 to 2020 school year. Obviously, I'm super pro-choice and I want families to be able to make the decision that best serves their child, but public education will always be my number one. And I want families here to be able to pick Brevard and have that choice, but us fight for that choice. If the number of school-aged children in Brevard is increasing and projections from the Bureau of Economic and Business Research show that trend continuing, I don't think this is simply a birth rate issue, and I think we all know that. But it suggests families are making different decisions about where to enroll. And I don't want this to feel like a pointing finger situation because we all have to work together. But I raise this concern continuously because I care deeply about this district and public education as a whole, and I know we can work together to solve that issue. And I think most importantly, open conversations about where we are, even when they're uncomfortable, and how we adapt only make it better. It's how families feel like their voices are heard, and maybe even more importantly, student voices need to be heard and valued. Especially with the millage vote coming up, which keeps me up at night, and I know probably keeps you guys up at night. Trust and understanding matters. Families are paying attention. I have truly deep concern that the Brevard community does not understand what's at stake if the millage does not pass. I hope we can have an open, data-driven conversation about this and with the families of Brevard so they do understand what's at stake. And if not, the future of this district depends on those concerns being addressed with real solutions. And I know we can come up with one. So, thank you.